Okay. Okay. So this is just a short discussion about mental causation. Just a lot of these things are different ways of looking at sort of the same problem. We're looking at this problem about the relationship between the mind and the body. So one thing we want to think about here is causation itself. You think one thing causes another. You're playing pool, you hit the pool ball, it hits the other pool ball a certain way, it causes it to roll a certain way. Or say a chemical reaction is when molecules are causing an interaction or a reaction, and so on. Causation. And causation, notice, is a sort of physical notion. We describe in physical science, we limit ourselves, in fact, to looking at physical causal relations. And so, what we want to look at today is the. All right, go on. I'm so slick. The problem of mental causation. And we're going to see that there are two problems, a traditional version and a modern version. And I think if you see the difference between the modern version and the traditional version, that makes it a lot easier. Let me just run through that real quickly. 500 years ago, the assumption would have been, it would not have been a question, that there was a non physical soul that wasn't part of physical reality, and it was somehow connected to a physical body that was part of physical reality. So that suggested a problem, an interaction problem that the ancient people, medieval people understood, which is how is it that a non physical thing can interact with a physical thing? We have physical laws that explain physical events. So if the dominoes are knocking each other down, and we want to know how come that one domino knocked the other domino down, we do it by appealing to physical facts and properties about the two dominoes, their location and their mass and their angles and their velocity, physical properties that they have. So then it was very clear to everyone from the very beginning that if you're talking about a non-physical thing causing the body to move around, or if the body is doing things like you're putting certain molecules into your body and that's causing mental changes, how is it that the mental and the physical can have these causal interactions with each other? So let's look at that. We'll look at the two versions. The older version, remember I just went over the older version, and then we're going to explain the newer one. The older version is you got two things, one's physical and one's not. It's voodoo. So how does the non-physical thing interact with the physical thing? Simple as that. Okay, but you do have a still a problem with that today. You might want to say today that, well, today we know that everything's physical, we know that everything's natural, it's all the nervous system physiology, so problem solved. But actually the problem isn't solved, and I'm going to explain that to you, coming at that from a number of different directions, but right now in terms of mental causation, thinking about causal relationships between things. So let's take a look. You're beautiful. Okay. Traditional version. So, as I say, if you think it's a non physical entity, then how can a non physical entity interact with a physical thing? And let me just say on that third bullet point there on that slide you're looking at, notice that I use that word closed, the closed nature of physical explanations. This is a very important metaphysical point. We say about physical explanations or naturalistic explanations that they are closed. They are closed causal explanations. What does it mean to say that they are closed? It means that they only refer to physical things, physical properties, physical processes. They don't refer to anything that's not like that. When you go to the if, say, you went to the automobile mechanic with your car, you would expect the automobile mechanic to tell you that maybe there was a problem, say, for example, with your fuel pump. What you wouldn't expect, unless maybe you lived in Beverly Hills or something like this, would be that the car mechanic would say, you've got a problem with your fuel pump, and we're also going to burn some incense to the fuel pump goddess because she's unhappy with us. That's not. And what's going on? Well, your mechanic is not limiting him or herself to closed physical explanations. You wouldn't want it unless, like I say, you were, Jennifer Aniston and you lived in Beverly Hills or something. I'm sure they have that stuff up there. But ordinarily, you see the point that there are such things as physical explanations, and oftentimes we're trying to explain something, we think we really haven't explained it unless we've got ourselves pretty much limited to the physical explanation. So, yeah, just saying, I don't make the rules. Okay. So the modern version, then, and this is the thing that we would need to understand, and this is the thing that's a little bit more difficult here. Where there are two kinds of explanations of behavior that we have available to us. The first one is the intentional kind of explanation. That is, intentional psychology is just belief desire psychology. How come he went down the hall? Oh, because he was thirsty. And we can unpack that into this story that he had a belief that the water fountain was down the hall, and he had a desire that he wanted water. And so these things cause. Now, how did they cause it? Logically. And that's important. We'll get more to that. We'll talk more about that later. There's a logical connection between his belief and his desire, such that all other things being equal, then if you're rational, you're going to form the intention to go down to where the water is. And of course, the other one that we're talking about here is this physiological level of explanation. If you go on the internet and search mental causation, you're going to get a lot of people tell you that this is just an illusion and really what's going on is the physical electrochemical level explanation. But that's clearly not the case, as a matter of fact. So we're in class, somebody gets up and leaves. And I say, why did he get up and leave the class? And you say, because he was thirsty. And okay, fine, I know. Say somebody gets up and leaves the room, and I say, how come you left? And you say, oh, professor, I'm a psychology major, and I can tell you, professor, that the reason that he left the room just now is because there was an electrochemical event in his neocortex, and that caused the negative potassium ions in his hypothalamus to do this, and so on, and the knees, and then there was an event in his neocortex. It sent an electrical signal down the spine. The electricity shocked the muscles and caused them to contract. And then the contraction of the muscles called the swiveling on the joints, and then his legs moved like this. And that would just be crazy. That wouldn't be the explanation that you wanted. That's just weird. What you wanted to know is that he was thirsty, and the reason he left was he went to go get some water. And that just doesn't fall out in any way, obvious way we can see whatsoever from that physiological explanation. So the problem of mental causation is quite alive and well. Notice it does seem as if the causally relevant material is the content of the states, what the belief is about, what the desire is about, what the desire is for, the content. And that aboutness is going to be a major thing that we're going to talk about quite a lot. Let's see if we have another slide for you. We might. Or maybe that's just it. I think that might just be it. Oh, no. Here's just summing that up then. No psychophysical laws. Thinking about psychophysical laws in the sense of, no, what'd I do? Come back. No. Okay. Okay. Sorry. No psychophysical laws. Those would be the laws linking up the physical to the psychological. And significantly, the takeaway today is it looks as if the content is what's telling us what we need to know, as they say. To say that to sum up, to end here, to say that the physical explanation is the real explanation turns out to be a strange thing to say, because it looks like the physical explanation, as things stand, isn't an explanation that does us any good at all. So take that, and let's see if we can maybe use that JSTOR database to look up some stuff. But I'm just going to end this now and then give you some links and suggestions.